Sometimes in real estate, we have to get a little bit creative, especially in wholesale real estate. It's not always just taking a property that's as is, putting it in contract and assigning that contract for a fee, or doing a double closing and making the profit from just wholesaling the property as is. Sometimes there are things we can do to the property where we could still wholesale the property without completing a project, but if we get it to a certain point, we spend a little bit of money to make a little bit more in our profit. And I'll explain why. So I have a property with one of my students in Riviera Beach. It's a duplex. He's been talking to the family. It's a probate property, and the property needs a complete gut. I mean, the roof is kind of caving in. All of the trusses, which is all the wood framing in the roof, is all rotted. And there's a lot of moisture and water that has gotten in between the walls. So a lot of the sheetrock and everything is all going to have to come out. We're going to have to take this house completely down to the studs and CBS block and start new. It was also built in the 1950s and it hasn't been updated. So that's another reason why we would actually need to completely gut it, to completely update it as well, especially when it's going to be a rental property. You got to be careful with rental properties, especially with electrical. You want to make sure that everything is working properly and there's not going to be any liability of starting a fire. So I looked at this deal and I said, you know, we could work out the numbers so that when we make the offer to the family, obviously we're just going to make the assumption that we're going to have to completely gut the property and start from scratch and basically get architectural plans and permits that we'll need for this renovation. Now also, it has window air conditioners, so we're going to have to be adding air conditioning ducts and things, which again would be something that would be required by the building department for us to have some architectural plans for. But instead of looking at this property and thinking, okay, let's just get it in contract and wholesale it, either assigning the contract or do a double closing to another investor, and we could probably make a decent fee doing that. However, the way that I'm looking at this project is to get a little bit creative in wholesale. So let me explain, sometimes in wholesaling that you can do a little bit to the property to make a lot more money. So in a property like this, when you have a property that needs architectural drawings, permits, and everything, your buyer's pool is going to be a little bit smaller because not every buyer, not every landlord that would want to buy this duplex is going to have the contractor and the people that have the expertise to be able to do all of the work. Some of them will, but not all of them. So sometimes if you make it a little bit easier, if you do a little bit of the beginning work on the property and then wholesale the property, that way you can actually maximize a little bit more and make a larger profit. Right now, if we got the property in contract, if we wholesale the property as is, we would probably make somewhere around $40,000 or $50,000. That's if the family agrees to the price that we're presenting to them. However, what I'm thinking of on this project, if we do get this project locked up in contract, we're going to be making our offer tomorrow. So if we do get this property locked up in contract, what I'm thinking is that because I do have the crews that will go in and will start the demo and get the project basically ready, sort of like a blank canvas, ready to be painted. So we would pull out all of the sheetrock, pull up anything in regards that needs to be demoed, like the kitchens and bathrooms. It's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath on each side. So there's 2 bathrooms and 2 kitchens that we would need to demo as well. Clearing all of that out and then starting to work with the city of Riviera Beach, where we would get some architectural plans and things approved and get all of our quotes and everything for the air conditioning ducts and the air conditioning systems that we need to put in, some central AC, as well as hurricane windows, a whole new roof, which is a flat roof, including rebuilding the framework, but then also putting in the new kitchens and new bathrooms, which we're not really going to be changing the layout. So the architectural plans won't necessarily be that crazy expensive or that complicated. So the idea is that we might be able to take this property and instead of just wholesaling it for a $50,000 fee, we could wholesale this to someone where we have all of the plans and everything ready. We've already gotten everything approved by the city. And the reason why a lot of investors don't want to deal with projects like that, especially if they're going to be, renting the property out, is because there's 10 other properties that they could just buy where they could go in, do a quick patch and paint and put some cheap, cabinets in and countertops, cut some corners, not permit, and then have the property ready to go ahead and rent. But this property, you can't just slap some lipstick on it. This is really going to need a full gut. So what we would do is we would take care of the gap between the property and its as-is condition now and where it needs to be to just have a clean slate and have their electrician and plumber go in and start installing the kitchens and bathrooms, have their kitchen and bathroom guys and tile guys start doing that, the flooring, painting, your light fixtures, and have a beautiful 2-bedroom, 1-bath duplex on each side to rent out. So what the idea is that sometimes you can take a property, looking at its highest and best use, which this is going to be as a rental property, as a fully functioning duplex. They sell for somewhere around $400,000. So, and there's no mortgage on this property, so there's some good margin there. But we will be able to sell this property for a much higher price if we have it all ready to go. And an investor just has to get, one contractor comes in, everything's already pretty much approved and ready to move on. Or we may even go ahead and gut the entire thing, get the permits for the roof, and start that process, and then wholesale the property instead of taking the next 6 months to realize a profit by finishing the project and then selling it, which we could certainly do. But if we want to wholesale this property and make some money now, this is a way that we could actually make a little bit more. So sometimes there are things that you can do that other investors are not going to want to do. Some of the dirty work in the very beginning that's not necessarily going to cost, tens of thousands of dollars. We could probably get architectural plans and permits and get the property prepared for less than $20,000. But it might increase our profits to making $100,000 from the numbers that I'm looking at now. So that's just an idea of sometimes when you take a property, then you're going to wholesale it as is. There are certain things that you might be able to do to that property and make a much larger fee. In this case, we might make twice our profit. So that's a way that you can get creative in wholesale real estate.